Looks like a little mouse lost its way.
Leave me alone.
あんた誰？
私はソフィーばあさんだよ。
She likes my spark!
一緒に帰りましょう。
It's me, Sophie. I know how to help you now. Find me in the future.
You heard it up top. Our long form series continues as we keep walking that road of animated wonder as we talk about the master himself, Hayao Miyazaki, and his incredible films. And this week we've got Howl's Moving Castle here on Normies Like Us with your hosts, Colin, but I'm leaking a lot of green liquid out because I'm so sad.
Oh, bummer. I'm Markle. You know, everyone's favorite.
Oh,
That's right. And this is Old Man Jacob. Oh, I've been turned into an old man.
you've
Don't
always
be.
been that way.
You're right.
You always will be.
You're right.
I hadn't realized this was going to be a Benjamin Button situation coming into it, as this was my first viewing of Howl's Moving Castle, acclaimed masterpiece, some would
Wow.
say, from Hayao Miyazaki. So excited to talk about this one as we're getting near the end, sadly. It's kind of a bummer.
That's right. We've only have
Yeah.
a couple more installments in our Miyazaki long form series. And yeah, we're getting into the 2000s now with Howl's Moving Castle, 2004. You guys remember 2004?
Oh, yeah. I
What
do.
a year! What a year! Yeah.
Only
Better
22
time
years
of my
ago.
life, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Was I in
honestly.
college by that point? No.
I was in
No,
high
I mean,
school.
I would have
right?
been 14. I was 14.
Yeah, I was in high school, so I was like 15. That's
I was like
cool.
a sophomore. I was in my sophomore slump, I think, around that time.
The War on Terror.
Well,
we'll talk
that's
about it.
yeah. We'll talk about it.
Reaching.
Honestly, we'll kind of talk about it probably. Yeah. Well, I guess famously, Hayao was nominated for Spirited Away and didn't go to the Academy Awards because of the Iraq War. He was against the United States doing that, and so this
Yes.
movie is kind of about that.
Yes, that's why I bring it up, because this movie is very much, inspired by
anti-war?
Miyazaki's anti-war
No way.
sentiments with the invasion of Iraq, and yeah, we're going to talk about it. It's got all of
Yeah.
Miyazaki's favorite themes, his favorite
It-
things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It really
it's got
does.
more than his favorite themes. He doubles down on airships in this one, Jacob.
Uh-huh.
But it makes sense that is when this was released. I will say I did not see this in theaters, which is strange given that I, as we said in our last episode, I did see Spirited Away in theaters before I myself was spirited away in that episode.
Mm-hmm.
But as a teenager by this point, I would have felt too cool to see this movie, even though it would have unlocked the secret of like, oh, act like Howl and you will get these girls that you are so desperately chasing after, Colin. Pay attention here. You know, you need to be
Sure.
looking at the screen.
Transform
Yeah,
into some
that's it.
kind of bird figure.
Well,
Um,
constantly dye your hair is the main
yes.
lesson I should have taken. But Mike,
That's
if
true.
you
Yeah.
hadn't seen this one, Jacob, did you see this in theaters? Do you remember the first time you saw it?
I did not see it in theaters, but I did see it later, probably when I was in college. So that was probably the first time
Yeah,
I
I
saw
think
it. So a
same.
little bit later.
Interesting.
I wasn't into, I wasn't aware of Miyazaki in that way. I don't think probably
Mm-hmm.
in 2004 I was still unaware of a lot of cinema and stuff around me. So I was still
Sure.
developing my cinematic tastes.
Mm. Yeah. This I was pretty stoked to watch it for the first time. And like we watched Spirited Away last time, and I was thinking to myself the whole time, is this the best one? And then I'm watching this, and spoiler, I'm thinking, is this the best one? Like this is
Oh,
his
wow.
legendary run where he has not had any misses essentially from 97 up to this
Princess
point.
Mononoke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We loved it.
So-
Now, Mike, as a fantasy fan, even though you hadn't seen this film, were you familiar with, since it's the rare Miyazaki adaptation, the fantasy novel source material?
I was not. Yeah, and I did learn that this was based on a book, but I haven't read the book. Have either of you guys read the book before?
No, I have not read the book. Yeah, it is based on a book. I do know that there are a lot of changes from the book, as far as Miyazaki making changes and really highlighting the anti-war themes of it all, as well as changing some characters and cutting out certain plots that are a little too complicated, I think, for the movie, from what I know, although I haven't read the book.
I've heard the war stuff is very much like mentioned maybe only once in the book, and he really kind of puts that
Yeah.
into the text, the forefront of the plot for this. But yeah. But-
right,
That's
right.
very interesting. I have not read it either. It is by a lady named Diana Wynne Jones, who was a classic fantasy writer in the 80s, kind of like an Ursula Le Guin doing sort of like an Earthsea series. But my brother has read it, as he enjoys reading these 80s novels that were then adapted into odd fantasy animated movies. Like, have either of you guys seen Flight of the Dragons?
Yes, but didn't know it was a book. But yes, I love Flight of the Dragons. I was a dragon boy.
And a much more weird, mature, war-torn, as I'm sure this book is too. Like, obviously, Mike, in the 80s, these cokeheads were like, yeah, baby, buy the rights. But for kids, baby, make it easy, baby. Don't worry about it, baby.
Tone it down. yeah, for sure. And Neverending Story is another famous, novel adaptation.
Yeah, for sure.
From the 80s.
For sure. And again, super weird. But also that movie is pretty dark and weird too. So that one kind of captures it.
That one, lands more in Labyrinth territory, but that's famously only half of the book, because I have read that book multiple times, and the movie's only the first half of the book, but that's not what we're here to talk about. But an interesting little thing where adaptations kind of pick and choose.
Though.
Oh yeah, that's on my
the other
ribs.
That's get it out.
That's
out.
Patreon content. That's
Ready to
Patreon.
content.
No, we're
that's
paywalling
right, that's
that.
right. We're saving for that.
The other thing I wanted to mention about the book is that even the description of the castle itself is different in the book, where it's this like dark tower basically that's all like it's much more castle-y looking to the sort of ramshackle version in the movie.
Yeah.
Did you guys happen to Google the first cover of what it looks like?
No, but now I'm curious.
It's like what you say, Jacob. It's literally just a tower with a face on it screaming.
Oh,
that's
really?
funny.
really funny to me. It's like, yeah, there it is.
Yeah, but Miyazaki brings his sort
wow.
of creative vision to it with this
It's like
ramshackle
we gotta
house
put
that
airplanes in this thing.
runs
Yeah.
around on like chicken legs.
It reminds me that it's like that witch's house on the chicken legs. It's not the
Baba
Yaga.
Yaga, yeah.
Yeah.
Baba Yaga.
That's
Baba
right.
Yaga.
Yeah.
John Wick.
John Wick herself.
Yeah. John Wick's moving castle. Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Hal is as aloof as Keanu Reeves. He would have made a very good Hal. That's interesting.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we'll talk about the English dub cast
Yes.
as well. I watched this, of
Well.
course, in the Japanese language version, but I have seen the English dub as well. And previously, we got
We
Christian
talked
Bale.
Oscar
Hal
films
Newcastle.
last week. Of course, we're talking the greatest Oscar host of all time, Billy Crystal.
That's
Yeah.
right. Billy Crystal as Calcifer, and Lauren Bacall as the Witch of the Waste, which is really interesting. Little bit of trivia is that Miyazaki, who usually like could give zero shits about the English dub, like who plays people in the English dubs, like he just doesn't care about that. But for this specific one, for Lauren Bacall, when she agreed to be the Witch of the Waste, he like flew to America and had like a private screening with her where he like sat beside her and they watched the movie because he was just like so in love with her, because she was, a very
Right.
famous actress from the golden age of cinema, 1940s and 50s.
That's cool.
So Lauren Bacall still alive in 2004, which is crazy.
Wow.
Got him to break his "I'm not going to America because I hate they're doing the war" thing. That's how big of a fan he was of hers. He's like, "Oh, I'm going to go visit you." Incredible. Well, let's jump into it. It feels like we're already raring to go, right? Let's hop in this moving castle. Let's go and let's talk about it. Let's dive in. Hayao Miyazaki, 2004. Haru no Ugoku Shiro. Howl's Moving Castle. Right after this.
We're back here on Normies Like Us, and we're not going to Witch of the Waste another moment of your time, because we're talking, of course, Howl's Moving Castle, the classic animated series. Movie. What am I saying? I wish it was a series.
Yeah, an incredible segue, though. I like the not going to Witch of the Waste any more of your time. That was wonderful.
That's right.
I need to shout out the character Markle, just because my name's Michael, my brother's name is Mark, and I'm like, Markle? Who's this guy?
Markle. Yeah, and in the book, that's funny because in the book his name is Michael in the book, but for some reason they changed that to Markle.
His name is Jacob. His name is like Michael
issue.
Christopher in the book, and he's like, "Hello, my name's Michael Christopher," and you're like, "Oh, hello." So instead they're like, Markle.
Markle.
Yeah. Markl. Markle.
Here's what we got for you.
Markiplier. Speaking of what we talked about off pods,
Markiplier. It is Markiplier. His new movie, of course, Iron Howl, coming out this week.
Yes, exactly.
That's
Some of the
right.
castle looks like a bit of an iron lung, but anyway, that's not what we're here about.
Yeah,
Howl's
Howl's
Moving
Moving
Castle.
Castle, 2004. Like we mentioned already, it has strong anti-war themes, influenced by Miyazaki's opposition to the United States invasion of Iraq, and
Mm-hmm.
as well as all his other favorite things. If you were worried that there were going to be no airships in this movie, don't worry. Let your worries be at rest, because there are in fact flying machines and airships and devices and whatnot. But
Of all sorts.
uh, yes, and this is a world. It's sort of a fantasy world where there's magic and there's witches and wizards, and then there's also like steampunk technology and stuff. So it's kind of a mixture of things. It's obviously based on sort of like a European looking city where Sophie lives and stuff like that. Um,
It almost
so
feels
yeah,
like there's a world in which, like, at some point, Kiki gets enlisted into the military when that country goes to war. Like, it's very much a similar vibe of the situation.
right.
Like, there happens to be magic. Yeah.
Do we want to go ahead and call out, since we are sort of masters now? This is our, what film are we covering? This is the 8th. Do we know? Miyazaki
Of all the
was
Miyazakis,
Nine.
of all the Miyazaki
I believe
directed,
number
the
9.
9th Miyazaki film we've
9.
covered. Do you want to go ahead and just call out some tropes? Like, obviously, the heroine is a young lady. There are airships, as you guys said.
Mm-hmm.
Well, partially
Yes.
young lady. Um,
Ah,
Yes.
yes, so.
yeah,
Interesting
but
subversion. You're very right.
yes, maybe
Same
an old
haircut
lady.
by the end of these movies, generally. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it has flying, of course. Yeah, the fantasy setting is like there are witches and wizards and stuff, but it's magic is almost treated like mundane in this world where everyone's kind of used to it. But although like
Mhm.
Howl is sort of like seen as a celebrity in the beginning when they're like, "Oh, Howl's Moving Castle is coming," like everyone's very excited and
Yeah,
everything.
that's so true. Now, how about this? Because obviously you are saying this is so specific to the 2004-ness and that it is a comment about the Iraq War. But can't we also go ahead and label at this point a Miyazaki trope is two countries head to head at a boiling point? We've got that in Nausicaa. We've got that in Lupita
Mm,
Castle in the Sky.
Mm-hmm.
We've got that in Princess Mononoke with the forest versus, civilization. And
Civilization.
now, of course, we have in this, the background of this movie, very oddly, is, oh, by the way, there's a world war that's about to break out.
And there's
yeah,
a
there's like
Porco
two
as
neighboring
well. Yeah.
countries that are at war. Right, Porco Rosso.
And Porco Rosso, of
and
course, a war movie. I mean, literally what
Mm-hmm.
that film is. Yeah.
and to me it's kind of about like the futility of war, where you have these two European countries that like seem very similar, and they're like both fighting, but no one really knows like what they're fighting for. And then they're both requesting, the kings of both countries or whatever are requesting the help of Howl as his various aliases as Pendragon or Jenkins, right, where he lives in the two
Mm-hmm.
different cities, which we'll get into all that. But you're right, yeah, it has a lot of similar themes with those previous movies.
Yeah, and it's like, and I can relate to, like, Sophie starts out, she's just working at a hat shop, but then in the background, everybody's cheering the war parade, and she's like, I just want to make hats, but the government's doing crazy shit. Like, can I just, like, not?
Yeah,
And it's like, I feel
there's a
that
lot
right
of
now. The government doing
right
fuck shit, yet I wish to make
militaristic
hats.
There's a
propaganda.
military
Yeah,
presence in my town, and there's literally papers falling from the sky that say, like, don't believe your eyes and ears, rise up rebellion. You're like, oh
Yeah,
no.
yeah. But I still need to make my hats.
right.
So, yeah,
Indeed.
And
that's like a
yeah,
clear theme.
our heroine Sophie is sort of a I guess a plain sort of young woman who's like kind of doesn't see herself as like special or anything. She, like you said, she's a hat maker, and that's kind of how we start this movie. And as she's walking to, I guess, meet her sister, she runs into Howl.
Well, she gets
And
accosted
kinda
by soldiers that are occupying her
That's
town.
right. That's right.
That's right.
They're kind of like sexually harassing her, and she's like,
And then Howl has to be like, oh,
this
I've
is
been
making
looking
me
for you.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
pretend to be
Yeah.
my
And Hal
boyfriend
swoops
for a minute.
in, yeah,
Mhm.
and sort of saves her. And then they kind of walk down the alley together. He's like, guess what? I'm actually being followed by a bunch of, demons or ghosts or something. So just go with me for a minute, And
I
she kind of gets wrapped
do
up
have
in
to
this whole thing.
Mhm.
and it's beautiful, and it's a great little tale she's on. I do have to call out real quick the look of this film. It's a gorgeously animated film. It's what we expect from Studio Ghibli. What are we talking about?
yes.
Of course. But
Of course.
in the way that in the Princess Mononoke episode, I talked a little bit about Ashitaka's slutty little top that he wears, his slutty little open little thing, the sluttiest little thing a man could wear, in my opinion. That weird little sexy little Ashitaka outfit that he wears. I want to go ahead and say here, guys, right now, that Howl in this moment, when he's taking Sophie on the airwalk, this blonde, shaggy-haired Howl with the black and pink checkered
Yes,
coat,
the coat.
Cardigan, whatever this thing is, right? The open sort of billowy white pirate shirt and then these super tight black jeans. This is the hottest a man and a male character has ever looked in fiction. Like, this is it. This is all any of us could ever hope to look like.
Edward wishes.
Howl is a very beautiful young man, and he's very vain, and that's kind of a big part of his character is his vanity as well. So we'll get into that later.
But his drip game is unmistakable, Jake.
He
lives
farming.
up to the vanity is the issue. Yes, Michael. He lives up to it.
Rightly vain because he is a beautiful young man who loves to dye his hair. He loves to wear his dangly little jeweled earring. And he looks like a rock star or something. He's
and
like
the look
a very
he ends
flamboyant.
up on basically is Ashitaka with the blue long hair, right, and sort of the boyish look. Like, he is obviously serving Miyazaki face, I would say, Miyazaki protagonist face, but he stands out because of the fashion sense.
And he changes a lot throughout the film, which is a big part of his character as well.
For sure.
Yeah. He's got this kind of vampire vibe.
Yes. Yeah. He's sort of a brooding, emo boy, but then sometimes he's very outgoing. So he's almost like his mood changes depending on like how he's feeling that day. Sometimes he's very depressed. Sometimes he's very kind of outgoing and talkative. But I think a lot of this movie is about sort of the impressions, the way people look and what that set, like how society treats you, right? Because if you take that into so Sophie, who starts as this young woman, gets cursed into being an old woman for a lot of the movie. And a lot of the movie is based on, or a lot of the movie shows how she is perceived by society as an older lady. Generally, they're not treated the same as younger people. So there's that age component. And then with the character of Howl, how he's treated and how he his image dictates like how his mood, right? Because he keeps transforming into this bird figure every time he has to do he's meddling with the war effort and everything, which we'll get into. But I just think a lot of it is based on image and how you're perceived by the world and how the world treats you based on how aesthetically good looking or not you are, if that makes sense.
It has that, and it has a little bit of like, what is your identity to yourself? Because we have Sophie who's like, am I young? Am I old? I look like an old lady, but I'm young. But when I was young, I had an old soul. Howl is like, am I a bird demon or am I a pretty boy? Where do I land?
Right.
How do people, like you said, perceive me? What is my identity? Calcifer, am I a fire demon or can I be a family member? That kind of stuff.
Right.
God damn it, Mike. That's beautiful. I think the secret sneak attack of this movie is that you think the plot is what Jacob says about societal viewing, and that it ends up being about self-reflection in kind of a very interesting way. And that literally the curse that afflicts Sophie is like, you're not old. You appear as you act, and you live this sheltered, shut-in life where you are a fuddy-duddy, and you think you don't deserve to go out, and that is why you are old.
Even when she's like in the beginning when she's young, she kind of sees herself as a very plain woman. She's like, oh, Hal would never be into me. I'm not like super like attractive or anything. I'm just a very plain young woman with an old soul. And I think that kind of self-identity theme extends to like a lot of different characters, where there's a lot of different characters that are cursed in different ways to look different than they are, with the Scarecrow character. The Witch of the Waste.
To do a little bit of first reactions, I'm very curious to hear, because Mike, you're saying you really have an initial love for this thing, and Jacob, correct me if I'm wrong, not one of your favorite Miyazaki's, correct?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it grew on me a little bit with this viewing, but it's not in my top of the top, which is like, again, with his filmography, it's like something has to be towards the bottom, right? But it's not. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just not on the level of maybe some of the other ones, but I do
Mhm.
like it. I just think certain things about the plot kind of goes all over the place, especially like in the third act and stuff where you're like, wait, what's
Yes.
happening now?
My
Yeah.
reaction to this film, and it's been literally since the first time I watched it, is that I like this movie a lot, but it is exhausting. This movie is exhausting. And I bring this up because literally what you said, when these credits are about to roll and a man goes, by the way, I'm Turnip Head and I've been Turnip Head the whole time. And I'm just like, okay, we get, like, I'm in the background, like, we get it. Sit down. Like, nobody wants to hear this. Like, we're done.
Well, that's a
Oh, man.
recurring theme of like being cursed to present a different identity to the world. And so Turnip Head, we find out the Scarecrow has also been cursed like Sophie, and he's actually the prince of the other kingdom
I'm in
that's
love
like,
with you.
now I'll go stop the war or whatever. And like a
Oh,
lot of
yeah.
I'm in
Miyazaki
love with
movies, it
him. And
does.
he goes like, well, I'll be back because love is fickle. And they're like, okay.
Yeah. And
True.
I think with a lot of Miyazaki films, it tends to have a pretty abrupt ending where it's like, all right, we got to wrap things up now. And it's
Yeah.
like things just kind of tend to work out where he's like, okay, I'll go back to my kingdom and tell them to like stop the war or whatever.
It That's so
Yeah,
funny that you say that, Jacob. It never feels like the book is being closed. Every Miyazaki movie feels like he's just moving the camera away while these people keep living their lives. And me as a fan, I'm like, wait, what? It's still happening? Like, but you're gonna keep showing me. And then it's just
right.
like fully off screen. And I'm like, oh, and it just leaves you feeling so weird. Yeah.
No sequels
Yeah, I
either.
kind of
Yeah.
have that feeling with
Never.
like Kiki's Delivery Service and some other ones where it's like, but I wanted to see more of the
Yeah,
story, you
but
know?
what was happening? Yeah, are we done? And he's like, we are done. Life is done. And you're like,
Did the
Yeah.
oh.
Porco go
And
back
this
and
one, I
meet
think
her? Yeah, yeah. That kind of thing.
right. I think this
Is
one
he a
kind of
man?
it subverts expectations of like there's going to be some kind of big climax, and there is, but it's like the house falling apart with Calcifer's heart and all this stuff. But it just feels a little maybe all over the place compared to some of his other movies. So that's my biggest complaint about
What
it. But I still like it.
what drew you to it, Mike?
Man, I'm here to glaze. I think this is
Oh
incredible.
hell yes.
Like the
Wow. Hell
messiness,
yes.
all of it. What drew me to it is just that idea of like self-acceptance and like this everybody has a need to grow, but sometimes you need other people to help you do it. Like Howl needs Sophie. Sophie needs Howl.
Yep.
They need the family unit needs each other. And this I like that a
Yeah.
lot. And this just kind of self-acceptance journey that every character is on essentially.
Right. And that's what I was gonna say, like with the Witch of the Waste, where it has that thing where it's like there's no true like villains in the movie,
Correct.
which some other Miyazaki films also
Yeah.
fit that requirement. But the Witch of the Waste, who's like set up as the antagonist in the beginning, and then like, kind of halfway through the movie, she also goes through a change where it's like, oh, she reveals her true self, which is like this like really old like lady who can barely like walk upstairs or whatever, and then she kind of becomes adopted
Yeah.
into this weird found family, and maybe she's not so bad after all, you know?
Right, and I think that's great. And like even the house falling apart, like it's like a metaphor that like sometimes things need to fall apart before you can like build back up. Like I'm here for all
I
of
think
it.
it's like a really fine-tuned just example of something that you can just put so much metaphor on. Like I think
Yeah.
now I watch it and I'm just like, well, this is so obviously a movie about like what it's like to live with someone who's bipolar. Like that
Oh, right.
Sophie is like
Right.
living with this guy who is like so tortured and like cannot control how he acts. And it's like that's not at all what, Hayao Miyazaki set out to portray in this, but it's just a film that just really sort of lends itself to a lot of interpretation.
I
And
do
I
think
love
Howl is
overthinking
kind
it.
of bipolar where he's like, like he has his depressive states and then he has his more outgoing states.
I
Yeah.
There's something this film is very melancholy, and there is that sort of soft, sweet sadness that he's continued from Spirited Away, and I didn't get to say it in that episode, but as a young person seeing that movie, seeing how is that what his name is? The river spirit, the river dragon. What's that guy's name? The kid,
Oh,
the
Haka?
male kid, Haka. Thank you. Or Haku or something. Haka. I think you
I think
are.
Haku. Yeah.
Haku. Seeing that character and how he acts to Jiro, or whatever her name is,
Shen,
Chiro,
yeah.
Chihiro or
Zen,
Sen. Yes.
Chihiro or Sen, thank you. All these names just rattling around in my head, of course. But that was kind of the first instance as a young person where I was like, oh, people act differently, in different circumstances. And someone's not always going to be your friend. Like sometimes they have to act like certain ways or whatever. And really not understanding that as a kid. And now when I remember seeing this as a young person and being like, well, I don't understand why Howl's acting this way. And why he can't sort of like get a hold of, being himself around Sophie. He's not under some sort of contract or some other job. He's in his home and he can't act normal. But still, like now, you just see it and you're like, well, he's like tortured and like there's so much going on and like he doesn't have a heart, quote unquote. So he's again like not controlled. Like again, there's just so much you can just put on it. So he writes these complex background characters that just years later you were the target audience for him, but he's put so much strong emphasis into the characters that then you grow up and you recognize who those characters have been the whole time, and it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rewatch is crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. As we said, like, so basically Hal is a very powerful wizard in the world, and because of this war that's going on, the king is kind of demanding that he uses his power to fight this war. But Hal, due to his pacifist beliefs, is actually going out at night and like meddling with the war effort on both sides and just trying to like make the war more difficult, because he's like, if I can just like complicate things, then maybe they'll stop fighting, basically. And if I can like sabotage the war, and then he comes home every night and he's just like exhausted, and then he has to like go sit by the fire and like try to like regain his humanity.
Yeah. He's not like trying to kill anybody. He's like disabling bombing ships and stuff. They're chasing after him because he's causing trouble.
War.
Yeah, he's trying to. Yeah, like
Right.
But again, that's one aspect of a mercurial man who sometimes flies into town, dates women, disappears for weeks at a time, from his young apprentice's life, can barely like hold a conversation, is like torturing everything that he like loves and touches. Like, again, he's incredibly multifaceted.
Yeah.
Well, there's a phrase, we accept the love that we think we deserve. And as a person with no heart, I think he has a hard time feeling loved by those around him. Maybe by the end he'll get there. Sophie doesn't think she deserves love, right? I think that's a big thing. This is the most outright like what is like a romance film that Miyazaki's done to this point.
Yeah,
like it is
yeah.
Right. And you have Sophie, who starts out, I mean, she's a little bit older than the traditional Miyazaki young female protagonist already. So she's a young woman, but even before she's cursed to be an old woman, she kind of is like, oh, Hal would never like go for like a girl like me. I'm too plain looking. Like he likes, I'm not a beauty. He
beautiful women, not me. Yeah. So there's that.
So already she's like seeing herself through this lens where it's like, that's kind of what the curse reinforces, is that the curse basically turns her into what she already sees as herself.
I also look at this curse because she essentially gets cursed by the Witch of the Waste because she likes Howl, but Howl doesn't really fuck with her anymore. So she's jealous of Sophie because he walked her home. But I also look at the curse as a metaphor of like she was like robbed of her youth because of the war situation in it to a degree. Like she was forced to be older than she was in this situation, which is just one way you could look at it. So I find that fascinating too.
So we have the Witch of the Waste, who kind of comes into Sophie's hat shop after she meets Howl, and she's like, oh, so like Howl is like likes you now, huh? Well, maybe I'll put a curse on you and turn you into an old lady, and then he'll never like you.
And you can't tell anybody about it.
Yeah, basically she tries to speak about it, then her mouth gets like shut and she can't spill the secret. So she gets turned into an old lady. She wakes up the next morning. She's like, oh, I'm an old lady. Decides to go out to find Hal because she hopes that Hal can reverse this curse somehow. So she tells her sister that she's sick in bed or whatever, and her sister's like, oh, you sound like you're an old lady, through the door, right? And then she goes out, she walks out into the wastes, which is kind of like this area outside the city, I guess it's called the Wastes, right? And really beautiful scenery in this movie, of course, like all of Miyazaki movies. Very European feeling, just this whole world, like it's in like Austria or something. Yeah.
I guess he did like when he was just starting out doing like the in between frames and stuff. They did a location scouting in Switzerland and Europe and Vienna, and like
Oh
that
wow.
just always stuck
Right.
with him, and that's why it's always in all of his work is this kind of weird Europe
Well,
vibe.
again,
He
you
likes
think
that
about the
aesthetic.
castles in
Yeah.
Lupin.
Yeah,
You think about those huge, Swiss towers and European
Yeah.
chalets and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, Porco Kiki. It's all kind of
Interesting because
got that.
this, right. It's a very not Japanese film in a lot of ways, where it's like all the characters have more European names. Of course, they're all based on characters from the novel, so it's a European novel probably.
Hmm.
Um, but I just find that interesting. But he is very interested in that sort of architecture and that aesthetic
Yeah.
in a lot of his films.
Yeah. And so when she goes out to the waste, I think she mentions to the strangers on the road that she passed. She's like, oh, I'm going to visit my sister because I think she had two sisters and one works at that bakery. And I think her other sister was being trained in magic stuff. So she's initially looking for her
Uh,
sister, is my understanding. And then
right.
she
Oh,
meets our friend Turnip and says, find me a place to go live or to stay. And then that's when she gets entangled with Howl. But she could be looking for Howl
yeah.
too, either way.
But already you're seeing like how society treats an older person. Like a lot of this movie is about like, I guess, compassion for the elderly. Of like, you don't see elderly characters as the protagonist in these kind of movies
The
a
whole
lot.
time, I
Yeah.
just kept
Yeah.
thinking about my big, fat, dumpy grandma, who I did not like when I was a kid, who was
Oh
just
no.
this, like truly like the size of Sophie, huge, hunched over, like knocking things over, weird, awkward woman. And I just kept imagining, like, if like when we left the movie, she was like, actually, Colin, I'm beautiful. And she like turned into a young man. And that would have like blown my fucking mind as a kid.
Yeah,
Right.
I do have to say I did not expect that this would be the plot. Like I had seen screenshots of like an old woman in Howl. I'm like, I wonder what this is all about. I had not known that. Yeah, a large majority of this movie would be following an old woman essentially as our protag.
I watched this on HBO now, Max Go, whatever the fuck it's called at this
Hmm.
point, before it's called Netflix Max or whatever the
Netflix
fuck
Plus.
it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah, god damn it. Oh, I'm so mad about everything. And
Yeah.
the famous image, I would say, is the image of this film, which is a white-haired young-looking Sophie
Hmm.
in her blue dress, wrapped up in the Howl creature with Howl's kind of eyes looking through. So you
Yeah.
sort of have this built-in look of Howl being blue. So when we're introduced to Howl, Mike, in this sort of like blonde, what do they call? Are they called like Bishu boys? What's that name for like
Obishijo or something like that.
yeah, like a beautiful boy or whatever they're called.
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
did you
Beautiful boy.
expect that that's what Hal would look like?
Bishojo.
Bishojo,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Bishojo boy.
I figured because like I knew just through cultural proximity to this, that like a lot of my friends who grew up with this movie are like, oh man, we love Howl. I saw reviews on Letterboxd like girls don't like boys, girls like bird boy wizards. So I knew that he was going to be like
Gotcha.
this kind of good-looking, fancy guy, but I didn't realize his drip was
Yeah.
going to go that hard. But I didn't expect a blonde.
Yeah.
That's true too, because I had seen the other screenshots. So I was like, oh shit, he's got blonde hair. What's going on here?
Right.
So-
Well, his hair changes a lot throughout the movie, and as we see, yeah, he kind of crashes out if he has a bad hair day, like you
Like
said.
no, Jacob. Like all normal people with souls, he crashes out when he has red hair.
Yeah. Oh
It's
yeah.
like,
True.
what have
Ginger
you
now.
done to me?
No.
What have you ruined me?
But that is that's part of his journey too. It's like, oh, you just got to accept. Like he can't even accept his natural hair color. You know what I mean? About himself. Like he has to
Yeah.
have this culture, a kind of, curated, projected image, as Jacob was saying. Like he has this he's very controlling in the way he dresses and the way he looks and the way he wants to present. And when he loses control of that, he crashes out. Yeah, because he doesn't want to be perceived
Right.
as he is, because he doesn't think he's good as he is, which will, one of the themes of this, or good
Yeah.
enough as he is.
So yeah, but basically Sophie goes out walking into the waste, and like I said, he meets a random scarecrow that comes bouncing up to her. So she kind of meets him, calls him Turnip Head, and is like, hey, can you like find me a house
Place
or
to
whatever? What did
stay.
she say?
It's getting really
Yeah.
windy and cold. She's like, just find me somewhere to stay if you're going to follow me around. And he hops onto it, literally.
Yeah.
He gives her her
And
walking
so that's when
stick.
she comes upon right,
castle.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to mention just real quick. I was really surprised by how quickly she just kind of accepted it. Like she just like, well, I'm old now, but I guess that's fine, man. I really can't walk as good as I used to, but I guess that's okay. You know, I need a walking stick now.
She's
I guess
making
that's
the best
okay.
of her
She really is.
situation. Yeah.
Has ever seen the 1980s film Warlock?
No,
Richard E. Grant.
sounds
No.
sick.
It's pretty good. It's I can't remember the bad guy's name. He fucking died a couple years ago. The guy from Arachnophobia who went for a walk and like disappeared in the mountains or whatever. He's the titular
Oh.
warlock. But he
Okay.
curses the lead actress who's a young girl, and the entire movie she ages. So by the end of the movie, she is like an old woman trying to fight him off. And it's a killer hook. I love any film like
Yeah.
that.
That's kind of Sophie's the opposite of that, where she, as the movie gets on, she appears younger at certain points, and then by the end, she's her younger form, but she still has the gray hair. But now it's just kind of working for her. And then Hal's like, you know what? I like your, gray hair.
Baby, your
whatever."
hair's like starlight.
It's like
he says.
Starlight,
Yes.
bro.
Hell yeah.
The standard has
her
been
response
raised.
is kiss me, Howl.
Yep.
Just like,
And then when it's interesting
dudes,
that
you want to get
years
laid?
throughout-
Tell your girl her hair looks like fucking
Starlight, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The game he's spitting.
But like throughout the
Incredible.
movie, like when you see her sleeping at night, she appears as her younger self and stuff. So it's like interesting. And then when she like has a dream where she goes into Hal's memory or something, I think it's a dream. She's like her younger self again.
Mhm.
Sure.
But I guess
okay.
this idea of like the image that you're projecting in the world, like both these characters, Hal and Sophie, change through so much throughout the film. It's interesting. They're sort of opposites of each other.
Even Marco literally has a disguise to go from a young boy to look like an old guy with
so
a
there's
beard.
old
You know, he
guy.
changes his
I'm
voice.
practicing my magic.
Exactly.
And then you have
yeah.
the Witch of the Waste, who has a sort of transformation halfway through the film and joins this it's the found family is the other theme of like, oh, all these misfits coming together to form this weird family where you have this dog that like followed them, and you have Markle, Calcifer, all our
Spirit
favorites.
Away. You've got the mouse that turns into the baby, the head,
Yeah.
no face. Like, yeah, again, like it's something he loves to toy with. Is like, did you notice I've put 5 little weird creatures in the background? Well, they're actually along for the ride the whole
James
time.
Gunn studied this,
Yeah.
thoroughly.
Oh,
How do I get weird
absolutely.
families together?
Yeah.
But I just love
how do I put my
the
little
Witch of the
guardians
Waste,
together?
who you think is going to be the antagonist that they need to fight in the third act or something, and then like basically halfway through the movie just gets kind of humiliated by Suleiman, who's like the king's personal witch.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's like, actually, the Witch of the Waste, like she's not even that big of a deal. Like she's whatever. And then she becomes like this old lady that kind of just follows Sophie and
then-
becomes one of the family.
Yeah.
And then she does magic drugs. But then, Jacob, you get a little nervous
Tries to
about
steal Calcifer's heart. Yeah.
She does. You get a little nervous about Suleiman, and you're like, oh, that's kind of weird, and she kind of seems intense. And then the ending of the movie is she's just watching our heroes and goes, well, that's a nice little wrap up to
good
our
for them.
story. Let's
Well-
call it a happy ending. And you're like, what?
Yep.
Well, I think Hal was like Suleiman's apprentice or something
Yes,
at one
she was
point.
his-
She was his mentor.
her last student.
Yeah. And so
Now, do you guys
she's-
know
yeah. Go ahead.
the twist of the book is that the dimensional door is a real thing. Like all the elements of the book are pretty much
Right.
wrapped up in this film here. But one of the openings that he has is to Hal's original home, which is Wales in the 1980s. It is a current modern day thing.
Oh, wow.
He has Chronicles of Narnia style come to this magical land through a doorway and has like sold his soul to the devil to gain these magical powers.
Interesting. And so
I think that's the black when the different colors, like the red and the green, when they change the thing on the door to go to the different places, the black goes to Wales in the book or whatever.
Yeah, what if it was Wales?
Just
Instead of,
1980s
I don't know, like a
Wales.
void, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah,
What if it was
now we had-
live action when they opened that door?
Yo,
that would be
that would be pretty crazy. It's like the
Um,
Page Master.
Yeah.
but in
Yeah.
reverse.
like
Classic.
broomsticks and bed knobs or whatever that you ever see
Yeah.
that movie?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
wow,
yeah.
there you go.
We're flashing back to a lot of lost little magic films that I enjoyed a lot as a kid.
That's true.
right,
That this kind of brings up some of that whimsy. And even that dog that they meet in the book, I just was reading about this. That was like a human that was transformed into a dog that worked for Suleiman. So even that is like
Mhm.
it's a person disguised as something they're not. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
there's so many layers of
And
that.
at first,
Yeah,
Sophie thinks that dog is Howl in disguise
Yeah,
because,
you're
well,
waiting
we got to
for
get into
that.
the plot of it. But basically, she goes to see
Yeah.
the king pretending to be Howl's mother as part of his plan. He's like, "Don't worry, I'll be like observing you." And so the dog shows up. And she's like, "Oh, that's your Howl, obviously." And the dog's like, doesn't say anything because it's a dog,
right.
and it just kind of follows her around, and then ends up when they escape from the king's castle later. He's just like, "Oh, I guess we brought this dog too."
Yeah, no,
Then he
that's
goes, I was this guy the whole time.
he's playing like the king or whatever. Like, but
Yeah,
the
he's playing
dog,
like the body double. Yeah.
yeah, but the
Yeah.
dog was such a funny bit too to pay off that it wasn't Howl because we get this scene on the stairs where the dog's too old to climb the steps and now she's an old lady who has to
Yeah,
haul this
she's like,
dog up
"Oh,
the
I
steps while the
oh,
witches
why
of
are
the
you so
waste is
heavy?"
going with her.
Yeah,
That's a
That's
great
so funny.
scene. Like, what's the problem,
that's
lady? You're not
right.
gonna make it up here. You waited 40 years to meet Suleiman, you dumb witch. Like she's giving her shit. Like I love
Yeah.
that whole sequence.
So essentially, what's happening, yeah, like
Yeah.
we said, the Howl's moving castle can sort of actually move dimensionally, where it has this dial on its door where you turn it to a certain color, and you open the door, it's like in one city, and then you close the door, you turn it to a different color and open it, it's a different city. So Howl has these different like home bases where he has aliases where in one city he's the wizard Jenkins, and then in
Hmm.
another city he's the wizard Pendragon. Um, and the king is sending out these letters to all his wizards and witches, like being like, "You got to help the war effort. Like, we need your magical abilities and stuff." And so they're
Yeah.
trying to get Hal, who's one of the most powerful wizards, I think. It's
Hmm.
like, yeah,
And
Hal
what
could
they
really
don't
help the
realize,
war. Yeah,
what they don't realize is he's not a wizard. He's the wizard. That's his name because he's from Gallifrey.
Oh, nice.
yeah, I'd love that if
That was a joke
we
for
hung out with the
you.
Doctor.
I had to pull the name Gallifrey just for you.
Gallifrey,
You
of
made us
course.
watch those episodes, and it's somehow stuck there. So good for you, Jacob.
He's a
Gallifrey,
lot
what a
like the
pull.
Doctor, yeah, if you think about it.
Yes, he's a lunatic.
And we love the Doctor.
With the dimensional vehicle.
Change his, yeah, he changes his appearance a lot.
He's
when
got
he turns into
companions.
different people.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sophie's
Exactly.
his companion in the season. He's Doctor Who. That's who Howl is.
In
It's a Doctor
a
Who
lot of
episode.
ways, that's very accurate. Yeah. And he's very whimsical, like the Doctor.
Mhm.
And we love him. But so basically, the king is like trying to summon all these various wizards. Turns out two of the wizards are the same person. It's Hal.
Mhm.
But Hal's like, yeah, the king's been trying to get me to like come in and like
That's
use my powers to fight. He's like, I don't want
what
to
a
do
great
that. You know?
twist. I'm actually
Yeah.
both those guys.
Right, right.
Right. And so he's like, you know what? Instead, Sophie, you could go in and pretend to be my mom and
And tell him
and-
I don't feel my
which is
tummy
very funny,
hurts or
like,
something.
"Oh, I'm sending my mom to
Yeah,
like
you
talk
could
to
give
the
me a
king."
note
Yeah.
to say I don't have to go to
Go
school
to
anymore.
war.
Sophie, this is our ticket. And she's like,
Right.
yeah, okay.
Oh, we should say
It
too.
is
So
very
Sophie
silly.
ends up in Howl's Moving Castle. He shows up the first night that she's there, and he's like, "Who are you?" And she's like, "Well, I'm the new housekeeper." He's like, "Oh, who hired a housekeeper? I didn't know we hired." She's like, "Well, I kind of hired myself because your house
Yeah.
is so dirty. I think you need someone." And basically,
Babe,
Howl
okay.
lives in this castle with his little apprentice Markle, who is a little kid who don't know what his parental situation is or why he lives with Howl or what
You
his
assume
whole
how stole them at some
He
point.
runs the businesses. He runs the business while Howl's away. Yeah.
You
yeah.
assume he was payment to Howl in some sort of way.
Yeah,
Dowry.
but he lives with
Um,
Hal and does the daily tasks of keeping the house
Yes.
together and stuff.
And with
Um,
him as well, depending on what version you watched, is what I can only describe as the jazz man. A Jewish comedian who loves to do a certain
Oh,
voice.
right.
Forever Jasmine, Billy Crystal. I love
Oh,
making
yeah.
fun of him for that.
Calcifer,
You get Calcifer, a fire
Yes,
demon,
a
is
fire
what he
demon.
says, but is actually just this little flame inside a pot that not only is a source of fire and hearth for this little room, but he moves and controls the castle itself. He's a being of infinite magic, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I love Calcifer is such an interesting character because, like you said, yeah, he's what allows the house to move. He also has some kind of deal with Hal where Hal gave him his heart, and so that if
Mhm.
Calcifer would ever die, then Hal would also die. Like if Calcifer went out and wasn't sustained by wood and stuff. So
Mhm.
that's a big part of it. Like, don't let Calcifer go out, because then Hal would also die.
And he
And the
does
whole
all
house
that
would
while
fall apart.
being a psychiatrist for a mob boss played by Robert De Niro. It's so
That's
interesting.
right. So in the English dub, Billy Crystal plays Calcifer.
Mhm.
Let's talk about just for a minute the English dub, because I did watch the Japanese version this time. But like I
Same.
said, Christian Bale is Hal. Pretty big get there. And I guess Christian Bale saw Spirited Away and was like, "Hey, whatever, if Miyazaki ever needs me to do a voice, I'd be happy to do it because I love Spirited Away so much." So
And
that's pretty
supposedly
cool.
that deal is continued to this day, and that is why he's a voice in The Boy and the Heron. And a much smaller part is
That's
that
right.
he has said to him, "Sir, whatever you need, I will always use you."
He's got two
Now,
Batmans.
And two Batmans, the second
he's
Batman
Mike,
after
there's
Michael Keaton.
two
That's right.
Batmans in that film. That's so
Crazy.
funny. And yes, he's of course secured another one. Now, Mike, how did you watch this film? Did you watch dub or sub?
I watched the Japanese, but you're telling me he has had 3 Batmans. That's crazy.
I didn't
He
even
has
think about
now
the
had 3
Batman
Batman.
of
I've
it all.
never thought about
But I was
He's
going to
got
say,
them
as
all.
a trivia fact, that
Yeah.
he's the second Batman after, of course, Michael Keaton and Porco Rosso.
Mhm.
So you have Christian Bale, you have Emily Mortimer as young Sophie,
Mhm.
Gene Simmons as old Sophie, and Gene Simmons, not the
Not the
Kiss
singer of Kiss?
musician, Gene Simmons. No, but Gene Simmons, who was another golden age actress
Oh,
from
all night.
the 50s.
Mm.
But yeah, Lauren Bacall as the Witch of the Waste, which is incredible casting. Lauren Bacall in her 80s at that point, I believe.
Wow.
She
Incredible.
lived to 89. She died in 2014 at age 89.
Oh,
Wow.
a couple
Yeah.
more years after this film, then that's
Mm.
good. Now, as I've started to do with my Miyazaki films, I've always been a dub man. I've always enjoyed English dubs, especially Miyazaki films, because he gets these big celebrity casts. Some of them are great. I've talked about my love of some ones in the past. I've tried to switch it up now to where I watch the subs instead and I get the Japanese voices. But what I do is, since I'm watching these on HBO, I watch them in half and halves. I watch
Mm.
them half dubbed and then I watch them half sub so I can get the comparison.
Cool.
And that has led me to believe I think this is the worst cast of all the
Really?
Miyazaki dubs. I think
Mm.
Christian Bale is wrong. I've never liked Emily Mortimer a day in my life. And I think Billy Crystal gives the worst performance in a Miyazaki film.
Really?
Hmm.
In some of the clips I saw, I liked Billy Crystal. It's kind of like who was our cat in Kiki?
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, Phil.
Oh, Phil Hartman.
Hartman.
Yeah. I was
as-
like,
as,
I kind of would have
DG.
liked each
I
of
would-
those.
I would put it closer to Billy Bob doing a monk.
Oh.
as he did in
Princess Mononoke.
Miyazaki.
Phone
It's
that
a
in.
little
Princess
harder
Miyazaki.
to sell. Like, and I'm a
Yeah.
fire spirit. Can you believe it? Waka waka zoo.
She likes my
You're
Spock.
like,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And
He's doing
So,
Mike
yeah.
Wazakowski, whatever that guy's
Oh
name is,
Right.
yeah.
Monsters Inc.
Yeah.
Billy Crystal, very recognizable voice. But you also have,
Yeah.
this is funny, Josh Hutcherson as Markle. Josh Hutcherson from the Hunger Games?
Is
As
it
little
really?
young
I didn't even
Markle
notice
in the
it.
original.
Wow.
I mean, it's you just think it's a kid. I mean, he's so young.
Yeah.
That's so great. And of course, did Polar Express, Jacob, another animated. It's
Hmm.
interesting. Huh.
But yeah, I mostly like the Japanese version better, I think. But I do love the Lauren Bacall casting as the Witch of the Waste. And the other interesting thing is that Sophie in the Japanese version played by the same actress as young and old version, whereas in the English
Yeah.
version it's 2 different actresses for the young and
Emily
old.
Mortimer can't pull it off. I wish she would.
No, yeah.
I don't know, but they just don't even try. That's interesting.
Yeah, and that's Cheiko Baisho. Just shout out to the
Yeah.
doing double duty
Cheiko
in
Baisho.
Japanese. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also saw a picture of the Japanese woman who voices the Witch of the Waste, and she looks like a good time. she,
Oh,
she
really?
looks like a rock star. She looks so cool.
Yeah, so essentially, well, I'll just as we're talking Calcifer briefly, Sophie ends up in Howl's moving castle, and the first thing she does is kind of speaks to Calcifer and is like, "Yo, what's the deal?" He's like, "All right, this is kind of roughly how things work," and then I just like that she's not taking any shit from him. He's like talking all this crazy stuff. He's like, "Hey, but if you can break your great fire thing, if you could you could break my curse, right? He's like, well, you got to break mine first, and then I could break yours. She's like, okay, yeah, whatever. And she kind of falls asleep at the fire that first night. But I like how the next day when
Right.
she meets Markle, she's like, yo, do you want breakfast, kid? He's like, oh, we can't cook anything because Calcifer only listens to Howl. And she's like, I don't know, we'll see. And she kind of like bullies him into cooperating, and it kind of shows that she's like she's found a level of confidence to be like, oh no, Calcifer, you're not gonna stop me. We're making breakfast. Come on, buddy. And she kind of asserts herself for the first time, I think.
This is where she even
Yeah.
says for the first time that outburst gave me energy. From here when Howl enters
Yeah.
too, and they have this sort of like little cooking off, and then he gets scared off and leaves because he sort of notices the curse from the Witch of the Waste, right? That we see Sophie engaging in something. She wants to be this housekeeper. She totally transforms the moving castle and gives them a better life. And from here, the rest of the movie in slight sort of ways is kind of just a montage of her bettering their lives, right? It's about her sort of like teaching them just homeliness and how to just sort of relax and like live each day at a time, right? We get stuff like the laundry scene, and even though the
Yeah.
castle's moving, it's this very interesting thing of the castle has a physical body. Hal can say move it 40 meters to the west or whatever, and Calcifer has to divert his energy, put it into moving. Obviously the castle starts moving its Baba Yaga legs and taking off. But then, as we're saying, it's got these dimensional doors where it's always going to have these pockets to these other kingdoms where they can continue getting their work or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. And so, yeah, so they make the breakfast. They want 3 pieces of bacon and 6 eggs. He's cracking them one-handed like a G. Like, even the little stuff like that, like, oh, look at this guy. He can crack eggs one-handed. What a man. They're kind of putting
Wouldn't
that
you
up.
kill to have a furnace or something that you can just feed your waste to? The Flintstone
throw the
style.
eggshells
The
in,
thing
yeah.
you cook to is like alive and is like, you're like, feed me that garbage.
That's an incredible
Yeah.
minor detail, too, where he doesn't even say it. He just throws the eggshells and Calcifer eats it. And you're just like, what a thought. What a great little idea, you know? And that's the Miyazaki of it.
Yeah, also we didn't mention Sophie when she first meets Calcifer, they kind of make this deal where Calcifer's like, look, if you can like get what was even the deal?
Well, basically, he's saying, like, look, here's the deal. Howl, he makes me move this freaking house. I'm freaking sick of it, but I can't die or he'll die. So, like, we need to get our souls untangled so that I don't have to work for this guy anymore. It freaking sucks. So if you figure that out,
if you do that,
I'll fix your curse.
I'll like uncurse.
We're
you,
tied
yeah.
together, but he's also kind of in the position where it seems like he also can't talk about it, right? Sort of in the same way that Sophie can't talk about her thing, right?
Because it seems like he would be aware of how, once you find out the reveal, but his motivation is essentially, I don't want to be here anymore. And which by the end of the movie, he comes full circle.
And I do love Calcifer, especially in the Japanese version, I think, like you said. But he's just kind of like, he's a little demon and he can be antagonizing and stuff. But then Sophie's like, I don't really take you seriously as like some kind of intimidating figure and stuff. And he's just hanging out and he's having, he's like always like, feed me some more wood, please.
I do like that. And there's something to be said about, like, I don't know, again, you could come up with whatever you want, but this idea of, like, literally burn yourself out your entire life. Like, he's just exerting energy.
Yeah.
And he just can't not. It's like this kind of the work cycle of capitalism or something. I don't know. There's something there where it's like he literally has to burn himself out for his entire life. That's his existence, is burnout, essentially. And he doesn't want to do it anymore, and that's why he's talking to her.
Right. And Sophie's cleaning the house and she's like, this place is so dirty. And because Hal, he's neglecting his chores at home because there's dishes piled up, everything's dusty and everything. She's like, I got my work cut out for me. And then as she's cleaning on that first day, she like is sort of ignoring Calcifer and almost lets him go out. And then Hal has to come in from his bedroom or whatever and like, oh, please don't let my friend Calcifer, go out. Like, please, that would be very bad for us.
And then a couple days later, there's logs stacked next to him, and he says to Hal, hey, Sophie put these logs next to me. I can feed myself now. Isn't that great? She was so thoughtful to put these logs over here. I love it. Love little Calcifer.
Yeah.
How does this guy not think of this?
Right.
The most important thing is keeping that fire going. And he's like, oh, yeah.
That's right. I have in my notes, more chores, because like Spirited Away was very much like, what labor can you provide? Like, yeah, what job do you
Right.
have? And it was a lot of chores.
It's always about contribution. Yeah,
Contribution,
absolutely.
correct. I mean, we had that with Totoro too. It's like we're cleaning up the new house. It's that
Right.
kind of vibe.
But then Sophie being an old lady and
Thank you.
being like, look, I still can be useful. I can still do stuff. Let me clean your house. And then Hal's like, okay, but don't get carried away. And then at one
Hmm.
point she does get carried away, right? And he's like, you messed everything up. Now my hair is like red and like,
My
Yeah,
my chemicals were in the order that I like them. And she goes, well,
yeah,
that's
clean my
fine. And he's like, but
disgusting
look what I
bathroom full
did.
of
And
hair
I'm
dyes.
sick. And
Yeah.
because he's sad, he starts just turning into green goo. And the kid is like, oh, I saw this happen once when a girl broke up with him.
yeah,
And then
Yeah, he's
it
going,
just shows how
he's emo.
destructive he is. I mean,
Yeah.
the goo could literally drown Calcifer out and kill him, but he's willing to throw a tantrum, over his own safety. Is again, I mean, he's someone who can't control his emotions. He cannot. He just is.
yeah.
It's so hard to say responsibility for actions. It's like, is Hal responsible for his actions? It's like, yes, of course he is. We all are. But then there's also that piece of him that he just truly just does not seem to have control over.
He's extremely
Yeah.
impulsive. It feels like, and he has that outburst where he says, if I can't be beautiful, what's the point of being alive? And then Sophie has that great response where it's
Right.
like, I've never been beautiful once my whole life. Like, fuck you, basically. And she storms out. Like,
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
really good
Yeah.
moment. And
And
then,
even when, he's like throwing this tantrum, she's like, I've seen a tantrum before. He's not going to die. Like, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
He just needs to
Yeah.
like get it all out.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and like, even when she's pretending to be his mom, she's like, Hal would never come here and do that stuff. Like, he might be hard to understand and a little dumb sometimes, but he means well, it's like, but he does have
Yeah.
some growth to do. He's essentially running away from his problems or shutting them. He doesn't face anything.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
And then she's got to take him
So,
up the stairs to get a bath, and then his towel falls off, and she doesn't want to look at his big old dick or his little butt, even though we still see his butt. Miyazaki animates in his little butt cheeks getting
That's
pulled
right.
up the stairs, which I'm like, ooh, look at you,
Right.
little king. And then she says, Markle, you got to wash him. And Markle's like, okay, is he going to die? She's like, no, he's just
He just
being
needs a
dramatic.
he's just, yeah.
Mhm.
Right. But Sophie goes in to see the king posing as Hal's mom, right?
Mrs. Howl.
And so she goes in. That's where the Witch of the Waste is also going to the castle at the same time.
Mhm.
But there's a magical
They have a race.
barrier at the steps so that she has to get out of her little cart that she's carried around in by her
Right.
demons. And she's like, "Oh, they're
Yeah.
making me walk up these stairs." That's what.
She also
what the
kind of has
hell?
a Doctor Who thing going on. That cart probably pretty comfortable.
Bigger on the inside.
Even though it's,
Ah,
even though it's
yeah.
a little teeny looking. Right?
Yeah. So the Witch of the Waste, how to describe her? At first, she's like a very
Like a
large
slug.
woman,
It's
right?
like a big slug.
Kind of like a slug,
Yeah, she's
but
like a
she
big
has.
slug.
But it does have this kind of projected elegance that she wants to convey. She has like a fur coat and a fur
Yeah.
hat. She's saying to Sophie, "Oh, everything's so tacky in here, but you're the tackiest thing of all, you
right.
dumb girl."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
And that's why I find again, I keep talking about it, but the Lauren Bacall English casting is so genius to me because she's sort of like the Witch of the Waste has this sort of like she used to be like an actress in the golden age of cinema basically,
Yeah.
but now she's sort of aged out of it, and now she's an
Over.
aging former ingenue, right? And that's
But she doesn't
Lauren
want to let it
Bacall
go.
in the 2000s. Yeah.
Mm.
Like Lauren Bacall started in movies when she was 18. I've been watching a lot of like Howard Hawks movies and stuff recently. So I saw her first movie, which is To Have and Have Not with Humphrey Bogart, who she ended up marrying, right?
Oh, yeah.
Humphrey Bogart, much older than her. And, today we might call it a problematic age gap that she met him when she was
Okay.
18 and ended up getting married. And then Humphrey Bogart dies of cancer in the 50s. And Lauren Bacall, keeps on living obviously until 2014. So imagine,
Wow.
marrying someone and then them dying, and then you live another like 60 years.
Yeah,
and
and
have
then
this
she
whole
married
full
fucking
life.
Jason Robards, who I'm pretty sure fucking
Right.
knocked her around and stuff. So yeah, great.
Jeez.
But yeah, and then as she ate, like she was still in movies and stuff in the 80s and 90s and stuff as an older actress and stuff. And then this is, I think, one of her last roles.
Oh, wow.
I would assume. And it's obviously a
Way to go
voice acting role, but
But
I
we have
just
not
she fits the
mentioned
character so well.
an
Yes.
Academy Award nominated film up for Best Animated Picture, so a hell of a way to go out.
Oh wow.
Right.
Nice.
And like I mentioned, Miyazaki being like, yes, let's get her. I love Lauren Bacall because he grew up, probably watching those 1940s Hollywood movies, and so he loved that casting so much. I just find that whole thing fascinating.
Yeah. He would have been growing up in U.S. occupied Japan post-war. He was born like in
Right.
1942 or something.
And we know he loves that era of Hollywood cinema with like Porco Rosso being very inspired by that
Oh
era and
man,
stuff
yeah.
like that. So he has a love for he has a love
Casablanca.
for the past. He basically hates modern life and is like, you know what, things were better in the 1940s, even though, we had all that war and stuff. Like today with our internets and our phones and everything, like he's very
Yep.
against modern times, basically. He's like,
We are making me think how Humphrey Bogart and Casablanca coded Porco Rosso is. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you've seen To Have and Have Not, it's a very similar film to Casablanca in a lot of ways, where it's like Humphrey Bogart, it's also set in World War II in an occupied, Nazi occupied France. But instead of a nightclub owner, he's a fishing boat captain who sort of gets enlisted into like helping out the rebels. But he's like very reluctant at first. So very similar film to Casablanca. And that's where they met. He met Lauren Bacall. They ended up getting married. But yeah, just a little side tangent, but I just think that's
fun
an
piece of
interesting
casting,
thing.
yeah. But this witch, she's so petty because she does this curse and she's like, I don't even know how to remove it. And it's presumed that she steals the youth of other people to keep herself looking youthful, but even that's like at its limit right now,
Right.
Oh, you know what? She doesn't know how to remove it, but when she does it, and when Hal pulls the envelope out of Sophie when he first meets her,
she plants that,
and Mark was like, "Whoa, that's ancient runes or whatever, ancient scorch or whatever." Markle says, and Hal kind of does like big eyebrows to it. And Markle goes, "Can you remove it?" And again, he does a face. He does that wipe off where he wipes it away or whatever. And then it so clearly burns his hand that he puts it away very quickly. Where it's like Hal's showing off. Where it's like, yes, he's an incredible wizard or magician or whatever, but he's also like doing dangerous stuff that he should not be doing. And that's such a great introduction to who he is. But
then also,
right?
It's insinuated like the Witch of the Waste put that note in Sophie's pocket as a plan that she knew Sophie would end up in Howl's moving castle and then give him that note, basically. So later she's like, thanks for giving him my note. That was all part of my plan.
Yeah, I'm coming for your heart.
Basically, she just wants, she wants Howl's heart, which everyone kind of wants Howl's heart, I guess.
But then all three wizard people pull the move of I planted a listening thing, because then later Suleiman plants the thing in the gift, and it's like, why do you all just keep, guys, you all know that you're doing that to each other.
Yeah.
And it's like when Hal comes in, disguised as the king, right? He shows up and he's like, yeah, I just came back from the war. And then Suleiman's like, I knew who he was the whole time. Like, you can't trick. So they're always like trying to trick each other with magic. And they're like, yeah, I know your magic.
They're just like, I'm like 4 magic levels ahead of you, you fool.
Yeah, that's true. So I've already out magic chessed you, but yeah, I like that intro to Howl where he's cooking. It's like, oh, look at this guy. And he's like, ooh, I'm going to wipe this magic off. And he's like putting on a face, but then he's immediately like, well, I got to go. This is actually a big deal. I'm not going to tell you guys that.
It's actually really scary.
I gotta get out.
He says, my friends, I don't mean to interrupt our meal, but I really should be going.
Eat up, clean up after. I'll see you later. Yeah.
I gotta go.
I gotta go. Yep.
There's multiple times where truly characters are like, don't turn into a bird. You don't need to do that now. And Hal's like, I'm thinking the best thing to do right now is I turn into a bird.
This is the second movie in a row where we've had somebody who turns into a bird.
Yeah.
Because of the Yubaba also is a bird lady.
Yeah. She turns into that owl.
Yeah.
That's right. And it's like, the Witch of the Waste in the beginning, she kind of like swoops over Sophie, very bird-like, and that's how she curses her.
It's like, is it fur or feather almost, her jacket? Yeah. Interesting.
And she has this like 1950s elegance where she has like the fur coat and the hat and everything. And then as we see, She walks up the stairs. She's like huffing and puffing. She's like, I can't believe they're making me do this. Like, this is crazy. And
She's
then
sweating.
she goes into the castle, and it's all Suleiman tricking her and being like, okay, I'm going to reveal your true form, which is like a way older, like decrepit lady who's like, shrunken down. And that kind of humanizes her character because she becomes much more agreeable and is like, yeah, I guess I'll tag along with you guys now.
Suleiman basically traps her, takes her powers, which causes her to revert to the age she would be, which is ancient.
Yes.
So she has no
Right,
magic
right.
powers
'Cause I
anymore.
guess
She's
she's
just
been-
an old lady.
Yeah, she's been
Sophie
living on
calls
the youth
her
of other
grandma.
people.
Mhm.
Right. But it's crazy like how like sympathetic Sophie is to the Witch of the Waste after this, where she's like taking care of her basically, and the Witch of the Waste is like just like, oh, what a cute doggy or whatever. Like it's almost like she's like going senile.
Those are the
or
war
something.
sirens.
Ah,
Go to bed, Grandpa.
that's
Yeah.
a good
Robbing
fight.
us, you know.
Right.
Shut up.
I like when she
That's-
gets that little cigar.
Which was a
She
gift.
smokes
Yes,
magic.
My
at one
favorite
point.
cigar.
Howl's
Yeah.
like,
Snorts
you
magic.
shouldn't be smoking that. She's like, leave me alone.
Right, which was also planted by Suleiman. And
Let me do these drugs.
yeah.
Yeah. But she knew magic. She caught that little weird wormy guy that was trying to come out of the
Yes,
Suleiman
right.
gift, and she feeds it to Calcifer. But anyway,
So Suleiman talks to Sophie here and basically lays all the cards out and is like, Howl was my apprentice. He's not very good. He's kind of crazy. I know what he's doing with this war. I need him to focus on our side because we're the actual winners. There's, all this. Doesn't she say right here? The other side's all messed up. They don't know where their prince is, right? Doesn't she kind of like lay that out?
the
right
pretext
here, right?
of the war, we hear it in like a line of dialogue in the background in the beginning, is that the prince of the other country is missing, and they're blaming this country for the missing
Yes.
prince.
Yes.
Right. And that's kind of the reveal at the end that our turnip head scarecrow is that missing prince. And
I'm
he's like,
a
I love
dandy
you,
fop.
Sophie.
yeah,
I'm a
yeah.
dandy fop.
I'm,
I
I'm
see
the
you.
dandiest fop you've ever seen.
With a cunty
I am
bob.
in fact in
hello.
love with Sophie, but I see that she's also in love with Howl now. So I guess I'll go home and try to stop this war.
But I'll come back later and
instead
see
of
if Sophie changed her
being
mind.
What if a guy in a white
Yeah.
seersucker suit and a fucking fan fanning himself was like talking
yes.
down to you? I'd be like, get out of here.
Get
I'm
outta
not into you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But all he needed was the kiss from his true love to turn him back into a prince.
Mm-hmm. But
Tales old as time.
right? Yeah, there's a lot of people being kissed and turned into their true forms in this movie. It's like
There's
3 or
gotta
4
be, but
times.
Yeah.
My biggest fear is in my life is that like I'm with someone and out of nowhere they say like, this is who I was the whole time, and they transform and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, it is
yeah.
very fairy tale, the Princess and the Frog,
Mhm.
Beauty and the Beast, that kind of thing. Like
Mm.
you got to learn
It-
to love the beast, and then he turns back into a prince.
The core
Mm.
tenet of the book that the author said she came up with was I wanted to create a world where fairy tales are the norm. Fairy tales
Yeah.
exist. So it seems like this is that world of that sort of logic too, where it's like, oh yeah, the stuff gets kissed and transformed all the time.
Right.
Right. Which is why Sophie's like not even surprised that an animate scarecrow comes bopping up to her and like, oh, so you're like a little scarecrow
She
guy,
has
I guess.
directions. She's like,
Yeah.
you seem knowledgeable of this area, thing that doesn't have a soul.
She is true, and she's
Right.
immediately like, turnip, huh? That's my least favorite vegetable. Anyway, what's your deal? Like she's kind of like degrading right off rip.
Yeah. I'll call you Turnip Head. And then she meets Calcifer, a fire demon, and like all these random characters. She's like, seems pretty normal to me, I guess.
And Calcifer is also a thing that has been turned into a different thing. That's like a twist
Mhm.
of this movie.
Exactly.
Like at
Right.
a certain point, I was expecting Marco to be like, and I'm 126 years old.
Yeah, Markle is like the
Yeah.
only one who is, except for the disguise and his magic
like-
training. Markle's just Markle. Everybody else is
I
something
just
else.
exist.
Yeah. And we
I'm
still don't know
me.
we don't know what his situation is, where his parents are. Is he an orphan or
It's
something that was
bad.
adopted?
I'm
by
assuming
a
it's an
bad.
apprenticeship for magic, but anyway.
It's not good.
Mm.
We know that much.
But when they do that, we have a magic battle with Suleiman. Eventually, they get on their little
This is when Howl
gyrocopter.
reveals himself. Yep. Yep.
Oh, and really quick, she's so obsessed with Hulk. She's like, he was my most promising student, but now he's not doing shit right. You know, where the hell is he? And then like all of her servants have like the same haircut and the same hair dye. It's like, is she like that obsessed with him that she makes all of her help like look like Howl
That's interesting.
did? It's pretty wild.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but they get on the gyrocopter and he gives Sophie a ring. She's like, hey, you're gonna fly this thing back to the castle with our new dog and your grandma. I'm gonna buy you some time. And
Right.
this ring will point
They
you in the right
steal
direction.
the dog, Mike.
Yeah, they steal the dog. That's
Well, it's almost
Suleiman's
like the
property.
dog-
Join them.
And Sophie at one point is like, "Oh, the dog's here too. I guess. I guess we'll
No,
keep him."
in that final speech that I said of Suleiman observing everyone saying it's a happy ending, her first line is, "You little traitor," and she's talking about the dog.
Right.
Yeah. Because
You little traitor. You left
at
me.
first Sophie thinks the dog is Hal in disguise, like I said, but it turns out the dog was sent by Suleiman to like spy on Sophie. So
It can like scry and send her messages. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it never does.
But also,
I
it kind of it seems like I'm sick of this job. Like I want to join you guys. Like you seem fun. Like I'll
Well,
tag along with you.
I think that's Sophie's superpower in this movie is her like infinite compassion and patience with others. Like even the witch who
Yeah.
cursed
Yeah,
her, and
sure.
she carries the dog all the way up the steps, even though she thought it was Howl. She's still willing to do that. And Calcifer, who's a
Yeah.
fire
Yeah.
demon, but she's gonna be cool with you. And this turnip guy, like that's her thing.
And-
She's just kind of accepting
yeah,
of the
She
circumstances.
keeps bringing people into this family, and Hal mentions like several times, like, "Oh, our strange little family is growing. It's all due to you, Sophie. Like
Strange
you're
little
really
family.
bringing, a family
So-
into this house."
Mhm.
Yeah.
The escape from Suleiman is where we see the magic overtaking Hal. He enters this bird form and he cannot change back. It's very the Owl House, if you guys are into Disney's The Owl House, which I love very much.
Mm.
He's entering this animal form, right? He's going berserk, whatever. She brings him back, and she's winning Hal's heart in this way where he doesn't know what to do. He goes the superficial route and presents her with the dimensional door and is like, I made you like a checkpoint in this door. Like you get your own little spot to go out of. We can go on this hill and look, I used some magic to make these flowers. You could have a shop and stuff. And this
Yeah.
is where we've started to get the introduction of her shifting physical ability to look beautiful. And now in that she's having
She's
this
like
great
getting
time with
younger.
Hal, she looks young. She's looking like herself. But the minute he says, you could get a job here, you could sell flowers, you'd be great at that, Sophie, it's dawning on her that he's pulling his move of, what if I gave you something to obsess over instead of me, and then I could split, because that's kind of all I'm good for. And she calls it out, and that's when she sort of becomes older again, and he
Right.
deflects to, God, you see that war machine over there? Fucking crazy, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
He's
yeah.
afraid to commit. He's like afraid of commitment. He's like, "Look, I gotta go like stop the war or whatever. I can't be tied
Can you
down."
believe those things have bombs? Hey, watch this. And he lifts up his hand and unplugs 5 plugs on the warship.
Right.
And it starts to crash. And she's like, oh my God. He's like, no, don't worry. It's not going to crash. It's not going to crash. I know what I'm doing.
I only messed it up a little
Yeah,
bit.
that scene really.
Yeah.
That scene did stand out to me when they get this, they're in this nice peaceful area, meadow and everything. They're having a nice moment, and then this war machine comes through the sky and it's like jolts them back into reality. And I was thinking about the anti-war themes in like other Miyazaki films, and how this one is much more overt of like Hal being like, yeah, like war is bad. Like compared to like Princess Mononoke, where you kind of see all sides. You see Lady Abosha's like side of things, and you
Yeah.
see like the nature versus industrialization stuff. So it's like Ashitaka like doesn't want to side against the humans of Lady Abosha's town, because he's like, well, they're doing their own thing, they're struggling too, but is trying to make peace with it. Whereas Hal is just like, yeah, fuck war, like we need to stop this. Like
Hal
I'm
spots
really
it.
against
Hal
this.
says, a warship. Sophie says, oh my God, one of ours or one of theirs? Hal says, who cares?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, does it matter?
Great.
Like
Does it matter?
all war is bad, basically, which is and again, Miyazaki's worldview growing up in post World War II Japan, which really shaped his stance on war. And we're going to get into it more too when we talk about The Wind Rises, which I'm excited to talk about.
Yeah.
Is that the next one? No, Ponyo.
Oh, it's
Ponyo.
Ponyo. Yeah.
Which you guys have
and
not
then
been
The Wind
hyping up.
Rises.
No, Mike.
Very much.
It's
on,
more it's more
It's
My Neighbor
childish.
Totoro on the scale of
Yeah.
things of like, yeah, it's for
Fair.
younger children, but it's fun.
Yeah.
But this one we
But,
get really up and close with the theme of war to where literally like our dimension door is not working and we are stuck in the town that is actively being bombed. Like the capital is being
Right.
invaded, levels of stuff happening. Literally
She's
right outside
putting
the
an
door.
old woman to bed who is saying like, "Those are the sirens. That means
air
that
raid
we're
sirens,
gonna
yeah.
be bombed soon." Yeah, and you're like, brings you
But
back to
isn't
the
like
Blitz. Brings you
Yeah.
back to World War II.
yeah.
Basically, yeah.
And Calcifer's magic is like protecting the house from also Suleiman's like spies are looking for the house. And that's part of like, yeah, she like has that listening bug or whatever. And then when the Witch of the Waste is smoking that cigar that's like a magic cigar that's like supposed to like counteract Calcifer's magic or something. Am I understanding that correctly?
She
She
fed Calcifer
throws
that
the
thing.
spy bug the thing that makes him sick. She's then hitting
Right.
the drugs too much, which seems to be
This is
taking
a
off
nice
the
cigar.
illusion spell or whatever, right?
They
Yeah.
cracked the window
Well,
and
they
that's
that
caused
is
Sophie to
how
open a
it comes
window
back. Yeah.
because it's all smoking up the room, and Sophie's like, "I need to open a window." And she's like, "Don't do that. Then the spies will get in and the bombs and everything."
and they get found
So
out.
because also we didn't say that Hal linked the castle to Sophie's house and store in her city that we see in the beginning. So
Yep.
now like they're in Sophie's original city.
Mhm.
It's man, this is he's so controlling. When he's like, "Look at what I've made for you. I made you a room," and he opens it, and it's literally the shot we're introduced
Her
to her.
room, yeah, like
Mhm.
Yeah,
the
it's
first
her little wall where she
right where
makes
she
her hats or
sews
whatever, and then
things.
she
Yeah,
spends the rest of the movie there. God, this
There's
movie is so melancholic, guys.
there's a themes of like her self-determination throughout it too, because her sister at one point is like, "You're not going to work in that hat shop forever. You should do something different." And then
Yeah.
Hal's like, "Oh, you could have a flower
Yeah.
shop, or here's and even when her mom
Real quick.
comes, right? It's like, I'm happy here. I don't
right.
want to go back home. I'm happy
It's-
right where I'm at.
Mike, that's exactly the scene I want to bring up. I was going to
Mm.
say real quick because we skipped it over. We have to talk about the scene where the mom comes and the mom is like, "Oh my God, you're an old woman. Well, ain't that the tits? Ba-da-da-da-da-da.
That's what
Did you
I'm
hear
saying,
that
she
I'm
doesn't
getting
even-
married and everything else and blah, 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 blah. Anyways,
he's
I love
rich.
you." And she leaves and she's like, "Tell Solomon it's done."
Yeah, she
Yeah,
drops
basically
off
it
the
seems like
gift.
she was blackmailed into spying on Sophie. But then yeah, she sees Sophie, she's like, "Oh, you where have you been? Like we've been looking for you. Oh, you're an old woman now." Doesn't seem phased by that exactly. She's just happy to see Sophie. But then she leaves her handbag there, which is obviously she was told by Suleiman
Mhm.
to do that, which
Do you
contains
think
the listening bug and everything.
Solomon and Saruman are homages to each other? I read that these two were
Mm.
friends.
I think it has to be because
were
it's not the
friends.
name from the book, and R and L are the same in Japanese. So Suleiman, Suriman,
That's
Mm.
very
interesting.
similar.
Saruman,
So
Saruman.
I was thinking that too.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, and probably the book maybe Lord of the Rings inspired in that a lot of fantasy is and stuff.
Well, almost all of
Again,
it.
the moving castle itself in the book is described as like a tall black spire of like, it's very much just like a very traditional castle looking tower instead of what we get
Mhm.
in the movie.
A fish? A robot fish?
Yeah. Which actually, so the author of the book, when she saw the movie with Miyazaki, because Miyazaki's like, inviting her to watch to a screening and
What do you
everything.
think?
Mhm.
The author was very positive. She's like, yeah, it's not exactly the same as my book. There's a lot of changes, but it's a great movie. And like my book is still the book, but this movie has a different interpretation, and I really liked it. So I thought
There
that
you
was
go.
nice that she was so positive about the movie, even though it's different than the book.
That's good. That's good to hear. Um, I'm trying to remember because Howl's away. They eventually get the house teleported away to the waste, and Howl doesn't know that, so he keeps fighting in the town. And they're like, "We need to get to where Howl is to tell him we're not there because he just thinks he's protecting us. We need to let him know that we got away from the bombing."
He's getting consumed by the magic. A big bombing happens. The only scene I remember next is when she's got the ring and she's trying to locate his body.
Yeah, I would say like the third act is where it kind of falls apart a little for me, and that it's just hard to
Yeah.
follow like what's happening.
I'm trying to remember
exactly.
too.
And like the
Yeah.
house is falling apart. At one point, the Witch of the Waste is like, "Oh, she notices that Calcifer has Howl's heart, and she's like, "Let
Mhm.
me take that heart."
Could I have
And
that,
then,
please?
yeah, she grabs like Calcifer, and then she like is on fire, and then so Sophie's like, "Oh, let me throw some water on you to put you out," and that basically almost makes Calcifer go out
Mm,
completely, and
yep.
the house is starting to fall apart. It's also like running over,
It becomes
through the
just
hills and
the
stuff.
floorboards and the
Yeah,
legs.
Yeah,
right.
And they've got the passed out Howl.
Yeah.
that's yeah. There's
And
they're
then at
still
one,
being
so yeah, go ahead.
yeah. I'm trying to remember who they're being chased by the circumstance, but when it gets to where it's just the wood, the floorboards, our main crew, and they're
Mhm,
escaping, the thing starts to fall down the mountain, and then Turnip jumps in front of everybody and
mhm,
grinds himself to a stump to save
mhm,
everybody.
mhm,
I thought that was
mhm.
like a really great moment for
Right.
Turnip, who was just kind of this weird little guy. But I'm like, oh, I hope he doesn't die. I
It's
was
but
concerned.
yeah, but it said until that happens, Mike, you're like, "Oh, right, he is in this." Like, he's a character that keeps disappearing, unfortunately, and
But
you're
I
like,
did
"Oh,
like
yeah."
the laundry where he seems like he likes doing laundry and he's pulling the
He
drying line
loves it,
around.
and
He
it's a
just loves it.
beautiful scene. It's a
He's happy to
beautiful
help.
scene, Mike.
Yeah, he just wants
Yeah,
So
something to do.
does leave for a little bit through the middle of the movie, but when he comes back, it's like, oh, old Turnip Head's back. That's great.
Hmm.
So as they land, Hal is dying, and Sophie has made the decision that they love each other. She basically begs the Witch of the Waste, like, "Can I have that heart back?" Who's kind of like, "Oh, but without this, I can't have magic or whatever." And she's like, "Well, but you're my grandma. Can I have it?" And she's like, "Okay, you can have it." And she
If
gives
you
it to
really
her. She
want
gives her a
it.
little kiss and says, "Thank you,
Yep.
grandma." And she is like, "Oh, it's a nice thing to give a heart or something," she says. And then Calcifer talks to Sophie and says like Sophie says like, "I figured it out, like that you two need to be together," right? Like this sort of like riddle thing, right? And she says, "But if I do that, will you disappear?" And Calcifer says, "I think if you're the one who does it, Sophie, kind of like when I survived you throwing water out of me, that I will survive." And she says, "That's good enough for me." And she puts Calcifer in Hal's heart. He ignites, he goes down inside. He then turns into the bits of rainbow that we've seen before, which kind of emphasizes like the real Calcifer soul, who rises up, turns back into what he really is, a star, because we
Hmm.
know that he's actually a star that has come down from the heavens that Hal traded his heart to become his heart, and in doing that has taken Calcifer's magic. That is what has made him the strongest wizard in the world up to this part, right? We all know this. We know these exact
Of
Yeah,
course,
facts.
of
this is
course.
the this
And
is it.
That
then
all sounds right to me.
he says, so as he's doing this, he wakes up and says, "My chest, or it's so heavy, everything feels so heavy." And Sophie says, "Yes, it is. It feels heavy to have a heart, doesn't it?" Or something like that, right?
Yeah.
She says something effective. That's the burden of having a heart, which is having your
Right.
emotions back and having guilt back and your conscience back, right?
Hmm. And like owning it.
Yes.
There was that weird dream too where
Yeah.
she figures it
And it's
out.
such,
She sees Calcifer and How's first meeting, and as she's getting pulled back to reality, she's like,
yeah.
"It's me, Sophie. Find me in the future." And that whole bit.
Right.
That's how she
Wait
figures it
for
And
out.
but
me in the
then
future.
he
Yeah.
says, "And Sophie, it's you. It's always been you that I've been looking for." That's the one part where even Jacob earlier, when he was like, "That's a dream" or whatever. It's like, I don't know what that is, but it's so important to the plot that it's incredibly strange. So
Yeah,
I don't
Yeah.
know.
I think it's
But essentially, yeah, they're in
timey
love with
wimey.
each other.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it is. My
The important
issue
thing is, yeah,
when I
Sophie
said
teaches.
earlier that this is
Yeah.
well, teaches everybody to be better. We also jumped over the part where after the mom leaves, Markle goes, "That woman said you need to go live with her." And she said, "Yeah, she did say that." And Markle goes, "But you can't. You have to live with us. I love you." And she
Yeah,
says, like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I love you too, Markle." She's made everybody better. But
yeah,
Right.
when I earlier said like that this film is exhausting, like this this is kind of what I'm talking about in that it's all kind of crashing here at the end for me. There's so many things happening. It's been about so many things. I don't know.
Yeah. It's a lot to
yeah.
digest. Yeah. And by the end of it, I'm having a hard time following what's exactly happening with Hal and the castle and everything.
Yeah.
But it all works out in the end, and they realize that they love each other, and
And
then
I'm
turn
but
up. Yeah.
I'm never positive that just at the end of this movie that I ever fully understand like why was The Witch of the Waste accepted so quickly after all, and kind of forgiven? Does Sophie really love Hal? Does Hal really love Sophie? Like I think it just moves to emotional cores too quickly, and that's what's stopping this movie from being a 10 out of 10 to me. Which again, if it's a bad Miyazaki movie, and I'm not calling this a bad Miyazaki movie, but that makes this an 8.5 out of 10. What what a horrible movie that makes this.
Right, right.
It's like, no, it's a fucking masterpiece.
Yeah.
I'm kind of on the same page as you, Colin, in regards to that. But I still definitely like it. It's doing a lot of interesting things. It's just a lot to digest, and a lot of different characters, and maybe it doesn't hold up all the way in the end. Yeah,
it's a very soft magic system too, so that kind of gets confusing with like how does everything work, and like so as the stakes are going up with the war and everything, things do move pretty quick, and it's like magic works the way it needs to in the scene. Don't think too much about it. Like let's keep it moving. I don't know.
It's wild to take this sort of 2004 film where, as we've said, it really shows you escalation of public consciousness of war effort to where the first scene is like, it's the chatter in the background. It doesn't really affect these people's lives. To the end of the movie is like, war is this thing in your face nonstop that you can never escape from. It's all you will ever know. To literally a voice at the end of the movie is like, now that our silly little fox prince has been found, I think I'll cancel the war. Everybody's like, hooray! Like, that's kind of the only thing that does not, again, land this plane for me, where I'm like, but you've been so scathing this whole time. Like, I'm not saying it can't wrap up with a bow, but it
does.
really, it's right as the text is coming up. It's like, and the war effort ended, everything was fine. God, the end.
The end.
Yeah, it wraps up too neatly in that case.
It's so fast. It's so crazy.
If only we could end the war, all the real wars out there, in such a
Did you hear?
nicely
Baron Trump
way.
was found. He was actually in a well the whole time.
Yeah.
It would be funny if we started a war with like Baron Trump gets kidnapped by Canada, and then we go to war with Canada over or something.
We think he's been kidnapped by Canada.
He married a Mountie. He was in
he actually got turned into a scarecrow and some kind of curse.
Into a gay
to
hockey
kiss his
player
true
in
love.
Canada. Yeah.
It's a heated rivalry.
He had a heated rivalry with one of his chums.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
There's something to be said with like war happens for trivial reasons, I guess. Like that's how it could be so like simple, like the dumbest things cause war, I guess.
But it doesn't, in the real world, it doesn't wrap up that nicely.
No, of course
but as we know, war never changes. And
Oh,
we'll
there
talk
you
about
go.
that next week.
Oh boy. Interesting. Well, this war changed a lot of people. And if there's nothing else to say about this, I say let's run over to our final thoughts on Howl's Moving Castle.
Let's do it.
We're back here on Normies Like Us. We have escaped from our fireplace and returned to the stars. But as we said up top, and we forgot to mention here, that little star does come back and say, actually, I love you guys, and I don't want to leave. And they all go like, let's go home.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very cute.
And then the house is rebuilt magically.
Yay.
And happily ever after.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I just want to touch on the themes of, again, compassion and old age. And I wanted to read something here from Wikipedia. But what is interesting is, so Elizabeth Parsons stated that the film disrupts the stereotype of aged unattractiveness when the artificially aged Sophie manages to rescue two attractive men who both fall in love with her, Hal and the prince, who is Turnip Head. And
basically
ends the
with
war.
her soul.
Yeah.
They fall in love with her soul, not her physical appearance. But yes, and then they save
Sophie's actions are usually associated with grandmothers, such as being kind and nurturing to those around her, engaging in housework. However, these actions are depicted as being powerful and heroic. And the other thing is, there's a feminist aspect of this. And, in Miyazaki's balancing act, old women can be powerful and weak, positive and negative, nurturing and selfish, maligned and loved. In short, they cannot simply be categorized or stereotyped, and they cannot be dismissed as fantasy malefactors embodied by evil witches. They are given a lot of space as active characters, which is not something that's commonly found in Western movies of, the
Mhm.
protagonist being an elderly woman.
That's
So
what I was
I had,
saying up
I had
top.
a
I
friend
was
in
so but outside of Mrs. Doubtfire, we don't have a narrative like that.
right.
I had a friend in high school who wrote a film criticism paper once about Fargo, where he was like, Fargo is the ultimate feminist film because a pregnant woman shoots a man in the head. And I feel like he would have
Sure.
greatly
Frances McDormand.
enjoyed an article that says the most feminist, powerful thing a woman could do is be old and do chores.
Oh God, right.
Being kind, the ultimate power of femininity.
Right.
But it does. I mean, as this old lady,
It's
Howl,
great. I
who's
get
a
it.
young,
Yeah.
beautiful man who's obsessed with his image and everything, falls in
Yep.
love with her and doesn't see,
He
looks
breaks her.
past her. Typically, we associate old age with unattractiveness in a romantic sense, right?
Mhm.
And that's also something, in Hollywood where aging actresses find themselves limited in what roles they can play and struggle to find these good parts, which doesn't happen as much with men. Men in Hollywood are allowed to age more gracefully
Right.
and take these roles. Like you can be a Brad Pitt and a Tom Cruise and be doing F1 and all this stuff, whereas women, once they get to a certain age in Hollywood, find their roles much more limited.
Can
Yeah.
you fucking imagine, Jacob, a live action version of this movie where fucking I can't it's so horrible that I can't even think of a living old woman actress. Cloris Leachman, a dead old woman actress. But imagine Cloris Leachman being like chased by Jacob Elordi. Like that would
Right.
Yeah.
seem
Oh my
so
God.
fucking crazy. But like
Yeah.
you could make a movie about that. And I think people would like there this I don't it's an interesting cocktail.
Jamie Lee
I don't know.
Curtis do
Yeah.
Freaky Howl's Day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, probably something, if you had someone like Nicole Kidman, who is older now, but has done so much like work on herself that she's still,
Yeah.
she's
Yeah,
done
that's
almost too much to where her face does not move when she expresses emotions. But that's kind of
yeah.
another problem with Hollywood. But like
Mhm.
did you guys see that Nicole Kidman movie where it's about like she has an
Baby
affair
girl.
with a younger man like that she works with or something?
Mm,
Yeah.
I
no.
wrote it. What do you mean? Did I see it? I made a lot of money off of that movie, Jake. What are you talking about?
Right. Right. But it'd be something like that, but it would be even an older woman than that. But
Yeah.
that's the other thing is like just beauty standards in Hollywood. Like obviously that's a big problem. So
Oh yeah.
the substance, right? That's what the substance is about.
That's God. The substance.
Right.
The
Take us back.
substance. Sophie just
No.
needs to take the substance and then she can be young and beautiful.
Yeah, you can
That's-
fix
yeah.
what's wrong with you, age. I do like it's implied, yeah, that it's just her spirit. Like when she's sleeping and Hal comes home, like he sees young her, like he sees what I assume is like her spirit. He's not literally seeing young
Right.
her. He's seeing past her, her physical being to just see her spirit, and that's what the movie is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and throughout
And-
the whole movie, she has such a good spirit. Even when she gets old for the first time, she's like, "Well, I guess I'll figure this out." Like her positive attitude
Right.
is
She's
really
kind of like,
her defining attribute.
yeah. She doesn't just shut herself away in the bedroom all day. She's like, I have to go, deal with my problems and go out into the world.
In the
Mm-hmm.
in the book, the twist at the end of the novel is Hal reveals to Sophie that he knew she was cursed the whole time and that he's been trying
Yeah.
to break it, but when he was unsuccessful doing it, he just assumed she was wearing that disguise on purpose and wanted to be that way. And he was like, "Oh, I'll just go along with it then. That seems fun."
I was wondering about that in the in this movie because obviously Hal approaches her first in the beginning when he kind of saved her from those soldiers and then they're walking down the alley together. So he knew Sophie when she was young, and then when she appears as an old lady, I was thinking, does Hal understand like that she's the same person or not? Like, does he recognize her from earlier? And it's never outright stated like if he knew or not in the movie, but I think over time he kind of realizes who she is and like what's going on and everything, but it's more
Yeah.
implied.
And he's never outright like saying like, "Oh, I'm going to fix this." Like he's not. There's nothing to fix. I think is the thing. He has a definitive problem with the heart and the calcifer thing that she ends up solving for him, but he's never like, "You need to be fixed," which I think is important.
Yeah, that's an important distinction too, Mike. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And with the dream where she sees Calcifer, like I think that has to be like a real timey-wimey, and I really like if that is the case because the first time he meets her, the first thing he says is, "I've been looking everywhere for you." Like, oh, there you are, because she says, "Find
Yeah.
me in the future," and I like to think that he has been looking
I've
for
been
her and he
looking
finds her
everywhere
again.
for you.
I think that's beautiful.
That is the first thing he says. That's great.
Like you told me to look for you. I found you.
Yeah.
Like here you are.
Yeah.
Like you.
I've been
Yeah.
looking everywhere for you.
Yeah. And the rest of this is going to
That's
play
right.
out because you know how to fix me. We'll figure. I know you're going to figure it out. You told me you knew. So let's let this thing play out. So I think that's a really cool aspect of it. Potentially.
I also
Yeah.
I like the way that rumors travel that all the women in town are like, he has no heart, he takes women's heart. Did you guys know that? That he,
Mm.
if you're a
Right.
woman,
It's a
he
bit of
will
a
take your
playboy.
heart.
He'll steal it.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yes.
well, and it's a bit of a play on words, Jacob.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, several of the protagonists in Miyazaki's films, such as Ashitaka or San, learn to survive by showing compassion, and that's kind of her biggest strength is showing compassion. Throughout the film, Howl is the most vain and selfish character, but also learns to put others before himself.
I finally found
And
something I want
again,
to
Sophie
protect.
takes
It's you.
in,
Yeah.
yeah. Again, Sophie takes in the Witch of the Waste, who was,
Not right away.
responsible for her curse, but she still shows her compassion. So I think that's a major through line for Sophie's character.
Like, yeah, you're a good person, Sophie. That's
yeah.
what makes you you. It's not that you're old or young. You're beautiful because you're a good person to those around you. Like that's a great message.
Right.
So we only have 3 more of these left. Is that
3
right?
more.
Ponyo, Wind Rises, Boy and the
The
Heron.
Boy and the Heron.
Correct.
That's right.
That's so crazy. This has been my final thoughts on this one is this is the hardest that this has ever hit. This is the most I've ever liked Howl, and I'll be very curious to see where it shakes out. Once we get past Ponyo, I kind of consider those last 2 like beyond top tier. Like it's
Wow.
it's like so crazy. I
Well-
just don't know how any of this is gonna shake out for me, guys.
Wow.
It's interesting. Yeah. I mean, I would say how this viewing, it grew on me a lot. So I do hold it in higher esteem maybe than I used to. But yeah, I love the Wind Rises, love the Boy and the Heron. And those movies are both like, we're getting into late career Miyazaki now. And, he's taking longer and longer between each film because they do take a long time to make. Obviously, Studio Ghibli's doing other projects between these movies as well. But The Wind Rises was supposed to be his like final film. Like that was going to be his retirement film. Then, a
Yeah.
decade later, he decided to do The Boy and the Heron. And now that's his probably retirement film unless he decides I'm going to make another movie.
It's
But-
it's so crazy that like the last film we talked about, I saw in summer break with my brother as children. This film I didn't see because I was a moody teenager. We'll talk about it. The next one I saw visiting my brother in college. We'll talk about it. The next one I saw the first year I lived in LA as an adult. We'll talk about it. The last one was a year before I moved back home as an adult, like away.
Yeah.
It's like, Jacob, what you just said about time is so crazy to me. Like the next part of these movies are going to take up the rest of my life. These next 3
Right.
films we talk about.
Wow.
That's so crazy.
And The Boy and the Heron, from what we know, will probably be his last film. But he also said that about The Wind Rises, so he could be. I think what happened was he retired after The Wind Rises, and then was like, "Well, I'm still alive, and I'm not really doing anything. I might as well go back and make another movie."
That has not come for me yet.
He's like,
Yeah.
I did not expect this.
Interesting.
So he's still going strong, but I mean, yeah, I think Ponyo is.
And
We'll talk
Mike's-
about Ponyo next month, but
And Mike's gonna love Ponyo. Mike's
never
gonna
seen any of
fucking
these.
love.
That is one-
Mike's gonna do number 1 Ponyo.
we'll
We'll
talk
see.
about that next month. But that was one where I was old enough at this point that I was into Miyazaki, and I was like, "Oh, new Miyazaki! This is the first one coming out where I'm like, I'm aware of Miyazaki and I'm a fan of his movies." And I did see that in theaters, English dub. So it'll be interesting to go back and watch that one after so long, because that's not one I've rewatched a lot because it's not one of my favorites. But I did go out and see that in theaters when it came out.
Spoiler on that, I was a very Pixar-pilled kid. I kind of had my own idea of what I thought animation should be, and I've maybe only ever seen it that one time. I don't know. Yes,
but at that point it was like
yeah,
it was very much in that era where everyone was like, look, every movie he makes is a masterpiece. He just did Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away, and Howl's Moving Castle back to back to back. So obviously Ponyo, everyone's gonna need to go out and see that.
Boy, yeah.
Again, it's more Totoro on the scale of younger to older audience based. But we'll talk about that next month. But Howl's Moving Castle,
No, that'll be the interesting test, because Miyazaki says he makes his movies for children explicitly, right? Like they're children's movies, but like when we're watching them as adults, like I've been enjoying how rich they are, like texturally. So it'll be interesting to see if Ponyo can like live up to that, if it is one of the more like younger children centered one.
Right.
Yeah. Let me mention one more thing too. Just
the
animation in general.
Well, I was just gonna say The Wind Rises is one of his older, his most mature based films, I think, in terms of audience. So it'll be an interesting dichotomy.
Yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to highlight the animation here. It's always been fantastic, but like there's stuff in here, like there's a 3-way mirror at one point that Sophie looks into when she's trying to see if she's old, and I'm just thinking they are cooking way harder than they need to. Like you didn't have to do 3 mirrors, but you did. There's a lot of stuff like that in this. It just blows you away. The castle itself, there's a little bit of CG in this movie, but they still like hand drew everything and then put it in the computer. It's great work.
It's like I think like Spirited Away, in that it has some, or in Princess Mononoke, it has some minor CG elements to it, but it's still very much hand drawn at its base. And Miyazaki does all his storyboards himself, and then like the animation team fills in the gaps between storyboards and stuff. But this is what I find so interesting about Miyazaki. He's obviously a master animator, and even in his old age, he's in his 80s or whatever, he's still going into the office every day and like hand drawing storyboards of every like frame of this movie. Like it's insane.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I love this one. I got to figure out where it'll land on the list. Top 3 probably. I really love Howl.
That came out hot. I turned it on and I was like, ooh, a movie Jacob and I are cold on. Let's see. And I sat in my chair, and my cat was going crazy for my little plate of chicken as I was watching it. And truly, my eyes were glued to the screen so much that she stole a piece and ran away.
Wow.
It's like, that's how sucked in I was this time, guys.
Incredible.
Wow.
Yep.
But that's Howl's Moving Castle. And that's another entry in our Miyazaki series.
Yes. Wow. I saw
Colin, unfortunately, you, due to some difficulties, weren't able to chime in very much on Spirited Away last month. Is there anything you wanted to add to that, or that you didn't get to say?
I listened to the episode. I thought you guys did a great job on it. Just that weird that I think this does kick off his, and it's so, maybe it's not true because Ponya's next, but I think his melancholy period. I think if you don't consider Ponyo, that these 2 films leading to Wind Rises make so much sense, that a man almost seems like consumed with guilt of something, that you're like, what is going on, Hayao? Like, let something go here, man. Yeah.
He's just seeing the world around him get worse.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, as he gets older, he gets like more
cynical,
depressed about the state of the world, and more cynical. And he's a very cynical person. Like, again, if you ever see these documentaries with him, he has some classic quotes of just like, he's totally different than like the whimsicalness of a lot of his movies. Like in person, he's a very like cynical person. But there's always, again, I mentioned that meme of like him versus Junji Ito, who's known for like very disturbing work, but is actually in person like a very cheerful, a nice guy. So it's like the dichotomy between
really the silly fly.
Yeah.
Must burn.
Yeah, and then Miyazaki's like making My Neighbor Totoro, but then he's like sitting there with a cigarette and be like, yeah, the 21st century sucks. Like I hate everything about it. Yeah,
I like the one where he's like,
war is
look at
gonna
that
like
cat.
doom us all.
That cat doesn't have a job. I wish I was a cat. This shit sucks.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, that's great. I love this
God
one.
bless.
It's top 3 probably. I don't know. I'm excited to see
Wow.
what Ponyo turns out like.
Wow.
Never seen any of these remaining 3. These last 4 I have never seen them since all the
Wow.
first tries.
That's
Yeah.
exciting
buddy.
for me, Mike. What listeners can look forward to that, but Jacob, what can they look forward to next week?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, next week we've got Fallout Season 2.
Oh, boy.
Oh,
where we're
Warner
talking
changes.
Fallout New Vegas. We mentioned New Vegas a lot. Don't worry.
I was worried.
Yeah,
Talk
and,
rad roaches. Since our last
Death
episode,
Claws.
Mike is like a Fallout gamer. Jacob's always been into the Fallout
not
series.
the right kind
There's
of
going to be a
Fallout
lot.
gamer.
No,
Oh
they
my
don't have a
God.
sprint button. I'll fight
He's
you.
a Fallout 4 guy. Like we look down on those people, us New Vegas heads.
Wow.
No, there's
okay.
we'll talk all about it, but
We will talk all about it.
looking forward to that. But yeah, TV is back. You know, I've been watching a lot of shows on HBO right now.
TV.
We got new Game of Thrones. We've got The Pit is back, folks.
Shrinking season
so funny
3
you're
on
talking about-
Apple TV. Plurbius.
Finally, Mike. Finally.
New season
Michael
of
just
Industry
talked
on
about it.
HBO.
Mhm.
Finally.
And you're talking about, you know, HBO, oh, they're going to get sold and all this. It's the same thing with Warner Brothers. Like Warner Brothers, huge year, Oscar nominated movies, Sinners, One Battle After Another, Weapons, like all these movies. And then, oh, you're getting sold anyway. That's your reward. And I feel like that's right now with HBO where it's like TV's fucking back. Like on Sunday nights, I'm appointment viewing A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. And meanwhile, HBO is struggling, about to
Wow.
get sold out to Netflix.
Wow.
Yep.
But that's the state we're in. But
Miyazaki's
we'll be talking
right.
down
This
the
is
line
why
about
he's cynical. This is why. This
That's
kind
right.
of thing, amongst
What's the
everything
point?
else.
yeah. But we're gonna be hitting some TV. We got Fallout. We got A Night of the Seven Kingdoms coming up in a couple weeks, and so stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
All right. I'm excited.
Otherwise, arigato gozaimasu, everybody. Yeah.
Arigato gozaimasu.
Azosune. All right.
All right. Take us out, Billy.
I'm
Oh,
just a
no.
fire demon.
Oh,
Likes my spark.
thank you so much. Thank you so much, Billy. And thank you, listeners, for listening to this episode, checking us out at Normies_like_us on all social media where you can rate, review, subscribe. Tell us what you think of Miyazaki as it became Febizaki. Can you guys believe that we're in February already?
Yeah.
And
Right.
give us
It's
your
been almost
thoughts
a
on our slate
year.
of episodes coming up.
Yeah.
It'll be essentially a year by the time we get through Miyazaki. It'll be May again, Zaki.
Miyazaki
Wow.
returns. We have
Wow.
to close out
Miyazaki
Miyazaki
returns.
in Miyazaki. That's
Perfect.
so crazy. Name another podcast that does a bit that lasts a year.
Yeah. I dare
We
you.
dare you, listeners. We dare you.
Yeah, we've got a couple more, and maybe we'll talk another Studio Ghibli as our bonus episode or something. That's still to be decided.
Yeah, we still haven't talked about that. That's a good point.
He came out
And
of
then we have
retirement because
presumptive
Goro
next
keeps
long-form
dragging
series.
the family name.
Right.
Yeah, we're not doing
But I am
it
excited.
tomorrow.
I'm excited to get into our next long form series once we wrap up Miyazaki in a couple months. But we're not going to reveal that yet. But
That's right.
presumptively, we do have a subject, so we'll
Mhm.
stay tuned. In 2026, we got some great stuff coming, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, indeed.
But check out our top 10 films of the year last week. 2026, we're here, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's great. Everything's
That's right.
terrible, but
You know,
you know,
at least you
everything's
can
great.
listen to us. Howl's Normies podcast.
That's right.
Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah, the world is falling apart, so hold on to it while you can. And
Yes.
Again, check
If
us
only
out
I
on
had
social
some sort of
media, check us out
moving
on YouTube.
castle and some sort of magical wizard powers that I could stop the bad things happening.
Mhm.
But I cannot.
End all war. Yeah, well.
I have a door that opens into Ukraine, my house, and Mar-a-Lago.
Oh, no.
Oh no!
Oh,
And Gaza.
And then
Little
one
St.
of them goes
James?
to Epstein Island.
oh no!
No.
Oh no!
No, no, no.
All right, that's enough of that.
Burn it all
All
down.
right, we've been your hosts. This is Colin Cifer. I'm stealing
Markle,
yours, Mike.
but I look older.
Oh, that's right. You're Markle.
And this is the Jacob of the Waste.
All right. Well, don't waste any time not like, sharing, subscribing, listeners. We love you all. Take care. Be
That's
safe.
right. Check us out on YouTube. Yep.
All right. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.